Homework Hotline, what is your emergency?
Hi, welcome to Homework Hotline. I'm Becca. I teach math at Emily Griffith High School. Welcome to our new season of Homework Hotline.
Hi, I'm Nathan. I also teach math at Emily Griffith High School. This is my first season on Homework Hotline, but it's my second show, so I'm kind of an old pro now.
So our job is to help you out if you get stuck. Do you need math help? Well, that's why we're here. We'll help you work through the problem so that you can better understand how to get to the answer.
We're here every Tuesday and Wednesday from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. We'd love to talk to you and help you with your homework, so give us a call at 720-424-1666. Calling in with your questions allows us to more thoroughly help you individually.
You can watch our show in several different ways. You can tune into Comcast Channel 22, go to livestream.com and search for EG Homework Hotline, or you can watch us on YouTube by searching for DPS TV Homework Hotline.
The Homework Hotline is sponsored by Emily Griffith High School.
We also have an Emily Griffith High School student with us today. Lily, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Hi guys, I'm Lily, and today I will be your trivia queen and social media master. Now, as your trivia queen, I will ask you, the audience, a question, and the question can be on any subject. As your social media master today, I will answer your social media questions with our lovely teachers, mostly them though, I'll be honest. And the question, our trivia question today though, will be a history question. And the first person to call in with the correct answer will win a prize. And so today's trivia question is, who said, "I love fool's experiments, I am always making them"? I will see you guys about that at the end of the show.
Thank you, Lily. Well, I'd like to give you our contact information so that if you have a homework question or an answer to the trivia, that you are able to get a hold of us. So Nate gave you our phone number earlier. It's 720-424-1666. But you can also get in contact with us a lot of other different ways. For example, you can contact us on Facebook or Twitter at EG Homework. You can text us if you'd like at 970-680-3771, or you can even email us at homework@emilygriffith.edu. So a lot of different ways that you can get a hold of us. That's for an answer for the trivia question, or also to get your homework questions answered by us teachers. So get a hold of us. All right, well, let's actually go back to Lily, and let's get one of our questions answered on the social media board.
All right, guys, so our first question today is, how do you solve this inequality? And it states 12 and less than x plus 5. Oop.
All right, so I guess I can take that one. That's really an algebra question. So what we're looking at for this problem in particular, we said is 12 is less than x plus 5. What we're really looking for is a value of x that's going to make this equation true. So it's going to make that right side of the equation greater than 12. So I'm going to go ahead and write that problem down on my screen. We said 12 is less than x plus 5. Now, these inequalities, we're really solving them the same way that you would solve an equation. So if you think about what that means, like if I had an equation like 12 equals x plus 5, all we're going to do is try to figure out a value for x that's going to make my equation true. So to do that, we need balance. So I need to move this 5 over by subtracting 5 because I want to isolate the x. And if I want to do that, because of our algebraic properties, we need to do the same thing to the other side. You would end up with x equals 7. And again, this is really no different for solving inequalities. For example, when we say 12 is less than x plus 5, again, we're just trying to figure out what the value of x would need to be in order to make this statement true. So the same way we solve an equation, we solve an inequality. I want to isolate the variable x here, so I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. And what I have here, not the most neatly written, is x has to be greater than 7. So if you think about what that means, it doesn't mean that x is 7. It means that for any value where x is greater than 7, we're going to have a true statement where the right side over here is going to be greater than the left side of 12. So again, not really any different in solving an inequality than solving an equation. The steps are really the same. We're just kind of looking for something a little bit different.
Awesome, absolutely. So if you want to get your homework questions answered, just like Nate answered that one, give us a call. The call-in number is on the bottom of your screen. It's 720-424-1666. We're answering them all hour, or this whole hour until 5:30. So in the meantime, let's go back to Lily and see if we can get any questions answered on social media.
Okay, so now we have a Facebook question, and it states, find the next number in the following sequence: 1, 4, 9, 16, and 25.
All right, so we need to, it's basically, so whenever we're doing next number in a sequence is basically a pattern. And so when we're trying to find the next number in a sequence, what we're trying to do is establish what the pattern is. One way that you can think about patterns, and they're really difficult actually to teach, patterns are, but one way that you would think about patterns is what is it doing from one number to the next? So that's one way to look at it. That might give you a clue. So in this case, we're going from 1 to 4, we're adding 3, then we're adding 5, then we're adding 7, then we're adding 9. And if you kind of look at what we're adding each time, sometimes that gives it away and tells you what the pattern is. Sometimes it doesn't. In this case, you might be able to see that we're adding 2 more each time. And so we added 2 more from 7 to 9. So to go to our next number, we're also going to add 2 more than 9, so adding 11. So that'll make our next number 36. Now there's another way to look at this pattern as well, if you didn't maybe see it that way. The other way that you could think about this is where are we getting these numbers from? Where could they possibly be coming from? One, maybe you might have recognized that 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, those are all perfect squares. What a perfect square means is that it's multiplying itself by itself. So for example, the first number, 1, is 1 times 1. The second number, 4, is the result of doing 2 times 2. The third number, 9, is the result of doing 3 times 3. 16 would be the result of 4 times 4. 25, 5 times 5. And then the next number, 36, would be the result of 6 times 6. So either way you look at it, and you can look at it differently, it doesn't matter, but what you just need to make sure that you find is something consistent between number to number. So what is going on in each case? Patterns are difficult to see, so if you just kind of try to find out how is this number increasing or decreasing each time, a lot of times that will give you clues to figuring that out. So hopefully that helps.
Looks like we have a caller on the line.
All right, hello?
Hi.
Hi, thanks for calling Homework Hotline.
Yeah, I have a really troublesome word problem. I was wondering if either of you could help me.
Of course.
All right. So
All right.
What's the problem?
It's a rental car company charges a flat daily rate plus a charge for each mile driven. A car rented for 5 days and driven 300 miles costs $178, while a car rented for 4 days and driven for 500 miles costs $197.
Could you, I'm sorry, could you back up there real quick? The first one was a car that was rented for 5 days and for how many miles?
Driven for 300 miles.
And 300
for a
miles.
cost of $178.
Okay. All
While
right.
the second car was 4 days for 500 miles, costing $197.
197?
I'm having, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Find the daily fee and mileage charge.
Okay. I can definitely get this one. Would you?
Oh, go
Are you
ahead. You got it
feeling-
all set up.
Okay, daily fee and mileage charge. Okay. So the first thing that you'd possibly want to think about when you're solving a problem like this is thinking about what your variables are or what your unknowns are. And a lot of times the question that's being asked of you tells you what your variables are. So for example, the question was asking you, what's your daily fee? What's your mileage charge? So those are going to be our variables, the daily fee and the mileage charge. So let's just go ahead, we'll call daily fee, I'll call it D for daily fee. That's one unknown, D. And then mileage charge, we'll call it M. So those are our two variables, are our unknowns. What we're going to try to do is we're going to try to make an equation, or actually, since we have two variables, we're going to need to make two equations in order to solve for those variables. So essentially, if you have one variable, one equation should be enough to solve it, but with two variables, you need two equations. Unfortunately, they also gave us enough information to actually do that. So if we're calling D our daily fee, in order for us to find out what that flat rate is, what we would do is we'd take the number of days times that daily fee. So with the information that you gave me on the first car, we would, for the daily fee, we'd take 5 times D to find out that daily rate. And then we also know, in addition to that flat rate, we're also getting charged per mile. That's the other thing that we don't know, is what that charge is. But whatever it is, we would multiply it by the number of miles that we drove.
Okay.
So we're going to then take the 300 miles from that first car and multiply it by M. So 300 times M. And we know that when we add those two quantities together, it's supposed to give us $178. That's what the charge total altogether would be. So there's one equation that we can set up based on this information. Fortunately, we were given information on a different car, and so we can also set up another equation, and that was 4 days, so we'd take 4 times our daily rate, plus 500 miles times whatever that mileage charge was, and when we add those two together, we know that they should give us $197. And so then what we'll do from here is we want to solve for both D and M. And there are two methods to do this. One is called elimination. And then another method is called substitution, which either one of these might sound familiar to you, might be what your teacher is teaching you about right now. Elimination is where you combine your two equations in order to eliminate one of the variables. Substitution is where we would solve for one of the variables and then replace what we got into another one. So I'm going to go with substitution, just because it's probably an easier strategy. Actually, let's go with elimination. I'm going to go with elimination. We're going to do that.
Okay.
So elimination, whenever you're solving two equations for elimination, what you want to do is you want to make two of your variables opposites of each other. So, for example, right now I'm looking at the D variable. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing on TV, but if you look at the coefficients in front of them, and I'll highlight what I'm talking about. So the coefficient of the first equation, D, is 5, and the second one is 4. So what we want to think about is what can we multiply either one of those by so that we can make them opposites of each other. And what I mean by opposites is like a positive number and a negative number, so that when we combine them, they will go away.
Okay.
So if you think about the number 5 and 4, what can we make both 5 and 4 into?
20.
Yes, 20, exactly. So one of them we're going to make positive 20, and one of them we're going to make negative 20. So the first equation, we're going to make it positive 20, so that means we're going to have to multiply everything by 4.
Okay.
The second equation, we want to make negative 20, so what do you think we'd multiply everything by?
-5?
Yeah,
Or
awesome.
just regular? -5? Okay.
A -5 would do the job. It would make it a -20. So I'm going to write the new equations underneath. On top we have 20D plus, and we're doing everything times 4. So 300 times 4 is going to give you 1200 M equals, and I would love to have a calculator for this. So I'm just not feeling like doing this all in my head as quick. So we've got 178 times 4. We get 712. Then we're going to do the same with the second equation. But the second equation, we're multiplying by -5. So now we get -20D minus 2500 M equals, and then we have, and I got my calculator now, and then we have 197 times -5, which is going to give us 985. Now this is a cool strategy, because now at this point what we can do is we combine our two equations. We just add them together like we're doing addition. So we'll start on the left. We'll do 20D plus -20D. And what happens is those eliminate. It just equals 0D. It's gone. So now our D is gone. Then we're going to combine our M's. So we have 1200 M minus 2500 M, which is going to give you, where's my pen here, -1300 M. And then we'll combine on the other side of the equal sign as well. So we'll do 712 minus 985, and we get -273. And then the last step we need to do is we need to get M by itself is to divide, sorry. So right now it's like -1300 times M, so we're going to undo that by dividing both sides by -1300.
Okay.
And what ends up happening is we get our M by itself. And again, I'm going to use my calculator. And we end up getting this, 0.21. So do you remember what M stood for? What did M, that variable, represent?
The mileage fee?
Yes, our mileage charge. So now we know that we're going to be charged 21 cents per mile in our car.
Okay.
So the other thing that we had to find out was what?
The daily fee.
Yes, our daily fee. So what we can do to find our daily fee is go back to one of our original equations, and I'm going to highlight the one I'm choosing. I'm going to choose this one. And it doesn't actually matter which one you go to, but just pick one of your original equations. And what we can do is now we know our daily mileage fee, so we can replace our M with what our mileage fee is. So I'm going to just go down here and use that equation. And we're going to use that equation to get D by itself so that we can also solve for D. So instead of M now, I'm going to call it 21 cents, and that's going to equal $178. So that 21 cents times the 300 miles that we drove is going to cost $63.
Okay.
So the $63, now we're going to take that away from the total. So minus 63 on both sides. So 178 minus 63 is going to leave, so the rest of the cost basically was $115. And that was for 5 days. So to find for 1 day, we're going to divide both sides by 5. And we end up getting D is 23. And do you remember what D stood for?
What D stood for was daily rate?
You got it. So now we know both our daily rate and we also know the mileage charge.
Awesome. That was really neat. I appreciate your help.
No problem. So,
okay, have a nice night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for calling. So, kind of a big problem, but what is cool is if you've got two variables, two unknowns, if you can write two equations with the information that you have, then you can use those two equations to solve for two unknowns. So hopefully that helps. Thanks for calling, by the way.
Wow, you get the really long questions.
I
It seems
know.
like.
It's a lot of fun. The
It
fun
is.
questions is what you mean, huh?
Oh, so again, you can contact the homework hotline by calling in at 720-424-1666. And again, that's not the only way to reach us. You can also check out our Facebook page and throw a post on there at EG Homework. Or also Twitter, same handle at EG Homework. Or if you want to just text in a question, you can text it in at 970-680-3771.
All right, so Nate just gave you all of the ways to contact us. Remember, you also can get answer that trivia question that Miss Queen Lily gave us earlier. Speaking of Queen Lily, let's go back and see if she's got any questions for us on social media.
Okay, so he has been stuck on this problem for a while now, apparently, and his question is, what is the volume of a sphere whose radius is 7 centimeters in length? He says, please help.
All right.
I think I can take this one.
That.
We
Yeah,
might need a
hopefully we
little
can
bit of a
help.
break after that.
Yeah, you
long,
go for it. You got it.
So this is again another geometry question where we're just looking for volume of a sphere. So I don't really like to just give you formulas and tell you how to plug them in, but in this case, there's not really a way. If you look at my my board really quick, we can see we have the volume for a sphere right here. It's pretty messy. 4 pi r cubed divided by 3. If you watched last week, we talked about like the area of a square, how that's related to the area of a cube. So if you think about what the volume of a sphere is most closely kind of related to, it's probably similar to the area of a circle, which is A equals pi r squared. Unfortunately, if you want to figure out how to get the volume of a sphere from the area of a circle, that takes a lot of calculus. So if you're in geometry, that'll be a couple years from now. But what you really need to know in finding the volume of a sphere is this equation right here. And this is one that either will be provided to you or maybe you have to memorize. But you'll notice in this equation, we really only have one variable, and that's the radius. And you said in your problem, what is the volume of a sphere whose radius is 7 centimeters in length? So again, if we think about what a sphere looks like, it looks something like this. It's kind of as good as I can draw one. We're talking about kind of the radius right here. So in this case, if the radius is 7, all we're really doing in this case, based on what we know, is plugging that into the volume of a sphere here. So 4 pi r, which we said r is 7 in this case, cubed, divided by 3. All you need to do from here is like a lot of simplifications. So we have 4 pi, you need to cube the 7. So this kind of comes down to order of operations. You would need to do the exponent first. 7 cubed is going to be 363. And we're going to divide that by 3. So 2 things here. If you're thinking about this in terms of an application problem, you might want to just use your calculator and get kind of an approximate answer. That's how you would say it. In a lot of cases, though, if we're looking for precise answers, we want to just simplify what we have here. So what I like to do is just kind of simplify. So 363 divided by 3. Let's get rid of that fraction. And we'll get 121. 121 times 4 in your calculator, 484 pi. Again, this is the most precise answer you're going to get. And this was in, do you know, is it in inches or?
I think this was a centimeters problem.
Centimeters? So that's going to be centimeters cubed. Now, if this is an application problem, you would do this in your calculator. Just 484 times pi. And you would get approximately, I'm going to use a symbol for approximately, 1520.531, and then there's some more after that. So it really depends if you want to be precise. This right here is going to be the more precise answer. And you'll see if you did this in your calculator, this requires some rounding, or you have to write just a lot of numbers. So depending on the type of problem, if we're looking at application, I'd go with rounding. If we're just doing straight math, then I would go with the more precise answer, 484 pi. Hope that answers your question.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Nate. We are going to take a little commercial break. So while we're waiting, go ahead and call us, and let's hear a little bit about Emily Griffith Technical College.
Nearly 100 years ago, a Denver school teacher by the name of Emily Griffith opened a school. Not just any school, but one where Emily hoped that any working person who had an hour or two to spare may come and study what they could to make life more useful. She knew she wanted to call this school Opportunity. And on September 9th, 1916, the doors opened for the School of Opportunity. The popularity of the school was a surprise, as she had hoped for 200 students to enroll that first day. Instead, she ended up with 1,400. The school started with classes ranging from telegraphy to typing, culinary to hairdressing, also English for the immigrants that were flowing into the state, so that they too could find meaningful employment, an effort close to Emily's heart. As the needs of the community changed, so did the School of Opportunity, adding courses like machine shop for the war effort and nursing, also many business classes. Emily retired in 1933, and against her objections, the school was renamed in her honor, the Emily Griffith Opportunity School. But the story does not end here. Emily Griffith Opportunity School is now Emily Griffith Technical College, a name that better reflects the current times and needs for the business world. More than 50 career training certificate programs with hands-on education and training in health sciences, business and technology, creative arts and design, and trades and industry.
I love Emily Griffith. I love the teachers, I love the program, I like the people that come here. There's a huge diversity.
And we still have Colorado's oldest and largest English as a second language program with more than 40 day and evening classes.
ESL program is very important for me because I need to improve my level of English. I can here improve my level completely.
Plus, the least expensive college programs in Colorado with financial aid and scholarships. Many students even graduate debt-free.
It has taken care of my education completely. It has paid for my schooling and my supplies.
So many programs to fit any person's needs, and we are still growing.
The vision of Emily Griffith Technical College is to be the premier college of excellence in the delivery of career and technical education. It's very exciting in that we can house most of our functions in this brand new downtown campus, serving our students just as we had in 1916, providing opportunities for all who wish to learn, as well as our location at 200 East 9th, where our video production program is housed, along with our broadcast studio. And we recently have moved into our new branch campus at 1205 Osage Street, which will house our College of Trades and Industry, a state-of-the-art facility that houses 50,000 square feet of instructional programming. With our 50-plus certificate programs spread out among 3 different campuses, we're hoping to build capacity, continue to offer the same grade instruction at the least expensive tuition point in the state of Colorado.
We truly do offer opportunity.
Opportunity.
Opportunity. Opportunity.
Opportunity.
For all who wish to learn.
Welcome back. Hopefully you learned a little bit about Emily Griffith Technical College. They're one of our sponsors here on Homework Hotline. There's a lot to offer there, so if you are interested, get a hold of someone at the Technical College because we've got a lot of great things going on over there. Well, in the meantime, let's go ahead back to Queen Lily and see what's going on social media.
All right, so we have a question right here, and I'm going to assume that means squared. So it says 9 squared divided by 3 minus 5 squared minus 2, whoa, goodness, 2 cubed, I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right, times 5.
Yeah, it sounds like you said that right. So
looks good.
in that problem, it's hard to kind of write exponents on, Microsoft Word or an email. So yeah, those carets do actually mean raised to the power of whatever the other number is. So in this case, I've got it written down here on my board, but this is really just as kind of an order of operations problem. We need to make sure we're doing things in the correct order mathematically. So if you remember something that is taught pretty often, I think my students still kind of remember this acronym, and I used it when I was in school when I was a kid a long time ago. It's Pemdas, and another way to remember this is, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally?
That's it.
Is that what it was? I don't know if I need to write all this down, but I already started. It's getting sloppier. All right, so all this means in terms of order of operations is the P stands for parentheses, so we want to do that first. And in this case, if we take a look at the problem, there are no operations within the parentheses, so we just scratch that out. There's no operation there. The next thing we want to look at is E for exponent. So anywhere we see an exponent, we need to go ahead and simplify. And that's, again, really important that you're doing this in the correct order mathematically. So I'm just going to walk through this problem piece by piece and simplify as I go. So exponents, I have 9 squared, I have 5 squared, and I have 2 cubed. So all I'm going to do is 9 squared is 81. We're going to leave everything else alone except for those exponents. So 81 divided by 3 minus 5 squared, another exponent. So we're going to hit that, get 25, minus, again, another exponent, 2 cubed, which is 8, and then times 5. So right here, we're done with the exponents. The one kind of tricky part, I don't know if it's too tricky, is this multiplication and division. You're not necessarily going to do multiplication first. You're going to do these kind of from left to right. So these things are kind of lumped together. So in this case, I'm going to walk through, and any multiplication or division I have, again, I'm just going to go from left to right.
I like that you mentioned that, because that's a common misconception.
Yeah.
A lot of times people think that, oh, multiplication definitely goes first, then division. But multiplication and division are inverse operations of each other. They're pretty much the same thing. And so they lump together just the same as addition, subtraction. So nice, good point
Yeah,
there.
that's always a kind of a confusion, even
Really
with some
is.
of my higher level students.
Yeah.
So all I'm going to do is walk left to right and do all my multiplication and division. So 81 divided by 3 is going to be 27. Again, I'm leaving this subtraction alone because we're not getting to that yet. Oh, let's scratch it out. Oh, I can use this eraser. I just found out about. And then minus 8 times 5, which is 40. So we've done this multiplication and division. I, again, like to just do this together. And addition and subtraction, you can kind of do this together. All we're going to do is walk through the rest of this. 27 minus 25 is 2, minus 40. And then last 2 minus 40 is negative 38. So really what you want to focus on is that PEMDAS, that order of operations. And again, the only tricky part is that multiplication and division. And that's pretty much it for order of operations. Hopefully that helped.
Yeah, good point on the multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. That's definitely something that throws people off. All right, we're going to take another commercial break. This time our commercial is on Emily Griffith High School and a couple others. So we'll see you in a little bit.
There's times when you wander and ponder all the labels you've received.
Believe me, I've got a few. Never mind from when, why, or how.
'Cause now, everything's different. I found the perfect place.
A space where the labels fade and I'm accepted and supported.
Check what the news reported. Emily Griffith helps all who wish to learn.
Turn towards your future while you finish the basics on your time.
Prime opportunity in this mature environment.
The only requirement is motivation and thirst for success.
Invest in your passions. There's no limit to how far you'll go.
And know that you'll have something in common with everyone here.
We all chose empowerment over standing still in fear.
What's there to be afraid of?
I've never done this before.
I had no idea what it was going to be like.
I didn't even know how to turn on a computer.
Success requires facing your fears. I empower my students from day one.
We jumped right in, shooting.
I was excited from the start.
You have a camera in your hand more than a book.
And that's how you will learn. From start to finish, I don't waste your time.
It begins easy, then it gets harder and harder and harder.
I didn't think I could keep up, but then I got good.
I realized I can do this.
Confidence is the goal. I love it when they see their potential.
I see myself doing professional work.
This is something I really enjoy.
I can see a story in everyone.
I'm not teaching video production. I'm creating storytellers.
Welcome to Nerd Necessities Network. You're probably thinking, what is Nerd Necessities Network? That's a good question. Nerd Necessities Network is a premier DPS TV show all about nerdy people, places, and things. check us out on Facebook and YouTube and all the social networks. That's a wrap.
Hi, welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed some of those commercials and some of the things that we do over here at DPS TV. We're going to the call-in number is on the bottom of your screen. So if you haven't gotten your homework question answered just yet, you still have some time to call. The phone number is 720-424-1666. You can also answer that trivia question that Miss Lily asked earlier. One of the things that we do on Homework Hotline is we like to also share information, so we're all about learning. And on our social media pages, we like to post some things that we find interesting sometimes. So Lily's got a little bit to share of what's going on our Facebook page.
So today on Facebook, we are talking about ants, which surprisingly, they're much, I wouldn't want to say smarter, but much more, they're better at surviving than we are. Let's just say that. They're very tough creatures, and they survive pretty much anything and have lived since the ages of dinosaurs, which is like 130 million years ago. So yeah, that's basically what we're going to be talking about. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, ants are pretty interesting, actually. You can click on the links on the Facebook page to find out a little bit more, but some of the things that I learned about ants from the link actually surprised me as well. Like, for example, Lily said that, all right, they're really tough, which is true. They can carry objects that are 50 times their own body weight with their mandibles, so their jaw. So basically, with their jaw, 50 times what they weigh, they are able to carry, which is a lot. Imagine doing that.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. What would that be, like 7,500 pounds?
Oh my gosh.
Or so?
That's yeah.
It's
like
also
an elephant.
Yeah,
mean,
that's insane.
That's like 2.
I also read that just think about how many ants there are in the world, that the total biomass of ants is actually equivalent to the total biomass of humans, which, when you think about like the size of an ant compared to the size of a person, that seems pretty crazy, but there's actually something like 12,000 species of ants, and each continent has, or actually a single acre of the Amazon rainforest has something like 3.5 million ants in it, just in an acre.
Oh my gosh, that's enormous. That's a lot of ants. Oh, the other thing, this is really, I thought this was interesting. Not cool of them, but interesting. Ants will actually enslave other ants, like keeping them captive and making them do work for the colony. So they basically are saying, all right, you're going to do all the work for us. So not cool of you, ants, but it's very interesting. They're efficient, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So interesting stuff. Did you learn anything else about ants, Lily?
I think the favorite fact I learned was ants actually shape their heads. They modify their heads to be in the shape of the entrance of their little home, or nest, I should say. And it's crazy because when a fellow ant member wants to come back into the nest, all he has to do is tap the top of the ant's head, and the ant just knows that it's a part of the colony. So I thought that was pretty interesting, how it just like knows. It's really cool. So yeah,
that is
really
very interesting. I know they're
Have you seen the movie World War Z?
Yeah.
A lot of the formations from the zombies are modeled after how ants, like how they climb. You know, they climb the wall.
Oh yeah.
It's really fascinating.
That was a very intense part.
Yeah, that was.
I was thinking of the movie Ants. I wonder how accurate, scientifically accurate the movie Ants.
Probably most of the formations that ants in that movie is also based off ants.
I hope they're actually accurate in that. I want to watch it now and analyze the scientific accuracy of the movie. But all right, well, so check out our Facebook page if you get a chance. We do have, in addition to stuff on ants, we do have stuff on lots of other interesting things. Anything that we find that we feel like you could learn from, we love to post on there. So check that out as well. Let's get back to answering some of your questions. So back to Lily again at social media. So what do we have?
Okay, so we have a question on Twitter, and it says solve for x. And I believe that's absolute value.
Yeah.
Yes, yay, star for me. So the absolute value, which is 2x plus 5, end of absolute value, I guess that's how you say it, equals 9.
All right. So absolutely, you're correct, Lily, on that. And so we've got an absolute value equation. So if you go to my screen, I will help answer that for you. It seems that we are having to solve for x. So one thing that I should explain first is what absolute value is. So what these little lines are here, they're called, again, absolute value. And absolute value, the definition of absolute value of something is its distance from 0. So for example, if we are looking on a number line and thinking about, all right, -1, -2, -3, and so on. Let's say I were to ask you the absolute value of -3. What we're doing is we're finding the distance from 0. So what happens is, if I were to say absolute value of x is 3, what I'm asking is, what is 3 spaces away from 0? And we actually end up having 2 answers to this question here. One of those answers would be +3, because +3 is 3 spaces away from 0. But we also have a negative answer, -3, which is also 3 spaces away from 0. So what we're doing is we're looking on both sides of the number line, one positive, one negative. So when we're solving a little bit more complicated equation, like the one on the left, we need to consider both scenarios, the positive version and the negative version. So from this point, what we do is we'll write 2 equations. We will find out what x is when it's +9 spaces away from 0. And then we also need to find out what x is when it's -9 away from 0, so that we're considering both the positive and the negative distance in finding what our unknown is. I would say that the most common issue with people solving absolute value problems is they forget this negative part. They forget that it's broken up and there will be 2 answers to our equation. So from here, what we want to do is we want to get x by itself, or isolate x on both equations. So we will subtract 5 from both sides of our equation, and we end up getting on the left side 2x equals 4. Then we'll divide by 2 to get x by itself. So we have on the left side, x is equal to 2. And then the right side, so our other equation, the one where x is the -9, we're still going to also solve for that. So we're by subtracting 5 from both sides. This time we end up left with 2x equals -14. Then we're going to divide both sides by 2, and we end up getting x is -7. And then what we could do to check our answers, of course, is to go back and plug in both values in for x. I'm not going to do that for you today, but what you would find is that one of them gives you an answer on the left of -9, and one will give you an answer of +9, which both, as we know, are the same distance from 0. So if we're thinking about distance, we always think positive. So there you have it. That's how to algebraically solve for an absolute value equation. That's just one example, and I hope that helps you with the rest of your homework there.
Yeah, I always like absolute values because you get to solve 2 equations.
Yeah, it's like
one.
2 in 1,
Great
2
time.
for 1. It's a great deal.
I think we actually have a call on right now, so we can jump over to that.
Hello?
Hello. Thanks for calling Homework Hotline.
Yeah, you're welcome. I've got a doozy.
All right.
All right.
The volume, on the volume of the cylinder, the base is 3 inches with a height of 6 inches.
Okay. Do you want to do that one, Nate?
Yeah, I can take that for it. Give me 1 second, I can take that. So can you actually just repeat those dimensions really quick?
Yeah, so the base of the cylinder has a measurement of 3 inches, whereas the height of the cylinder has a measurement of 6 inches.
Do you think, so whenever it says base, is it possible that that base measurement is the diameter or the width across? Is that?
By base, I mean I'm looking at a cylinder, and on the bottom of the cylinder there's a 3-inch thing.
Okay, so is
3
that
inches all the way
measurement
across?
the whole way across the cylinder or halfway across the cylinder?
The whole way.
Okay.
Looking like it's reaching all the way from left to right.
Okay. All right, I think we do have enough information then.
All right, so the base was 3 inches and the height was 6 inches.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if we look at your cylinder, it looks, you tell me if this is kind of, you can see what we're doing, right? Are you watching?
Yeah.
Is this kind of a crude drawing of what you are looking at?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right, so let's just clarify here really quick. You're saying that the base right here you measured, and this was 3 inches.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then the height over here was 6 inches.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so again, this is another volume question where you really just need to know the formula. And again, if you think about like what a cylinder is, it's like a circle, and that circle is extended straight down, right? And the width, the diameter of it stays the same the entire way. So you can think about this as like the area of a circle is pi r squared, but now we're adding this extra dimension of height, right? We're just taking that area and we're just bringing it down 6 inches. So the volume of a cylinder is going to be pi r squared. And again, if you think of this as like that's the area of a circle times the height that you mentioned. Okay. Well, what you mentioned here is the entire diameter across of this cylinder is 3 inches, but this is going to represent the diameter. So we have a diameter of 3 inches. I can write this. Now, if you look in the formula, do we have anywhere in the formula where we can represent the diameter?
I don't know. You tell me.
All right, I'll tell you. Well, in this case, in the formula, we have pi r squared, and r represents the radius, right? Well, do you know how the diameter is related to the radius?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Do you know how the diameter is related to the radius?
Yeah, the diameter is the radius times 2.
Yeah, so all we need to do then is actually figure out, I know the diameter is 3 inches, so what do you think the radius is?
The radius would be 1.5 inches.
Yeah, because it's just going to be half of the diameter, right? So all we need to do is plug this in. Volume equals this pi, and now we know the radius is 1.5 squared.
Okay.
And then multiply that by the height of 6. So, in this case, since I'm assuming you're looking at your can right now, you want to know the actual volume. We talked about a little earlier having more precise measurements. In this case, you probably don't want to know the volume of your cylinder in terms of pi. I'm guessing because that wouldn't really make a ton of sense to you.
No.
So what we can do is we just plug this right here. Where'd it go? This into my calculator. So all I do is multiply pi times 1.5 squared, and then multiply that by 6. And you should get a volume of 42.4115, or around that to 12. And that was inches cubed.
Awesome.
Is that helpful?
Nicely done.
All right. So again, one of these like other problems where we can think about like the area of a circle and what a cylinder looks like related to a circle, and kind of derive that equation from there for volume.
That's how I remember. I don't have the equations memorized, that's for sure. So
Yeah,
I
neither
just
do
kind of
I.
think of what makes sense anyways.
There's a lot of them to memorize.
That's true. They really are. Well, what I'd like to do right now is remind you guys that we have a trivia question that still has not been answered yet. So reminder of what the trivia question is. The question is, who said, "I love fool's experiments. I am always making them"? So who said that? So if you've got an answer to today's trivia question, give us a call on our phone number. It's 720-424-1666. But I'd also like to give you our other contact information so that you still have a chance to ask your homework questions. You can get a hold of us on social media, so Facebook or Twitter at EG Homework. You can text us at 970-680-3771, or you can email us at homework@emilygriffith.edu. So you still have a few minutes to get in questions if you've got some. So that being said, let's get back to social media and get some of those, the rest of those questions answered.
Okay, so this question states, if Meg deposits $100 into her savings account and she gains 12% interest annually, how much money will she have in her savings account after 6.5 years?
All right, I will do what I can to answer that. So if you go to my screen, we'll talk about this relationship here. So she was depositing $100. She's earning 12% interest. So if I maybe made a table here, just so we can look at this relationship and see what's happening. Let's say, so we're gonna make a XY input-output table to relate this. So what they're letting us know is that on year 0, or at the beginning of this scenario, her balance is $100, so to start with. And then what's happening is her annual interest rate is 12%, so we're gaining 12% each time. In order to gain 12%, what you do is you multiply by 12%, so find out what 12% of 100 is, and we're going to do that as a decimal, so we take 12%, turn it to a decimal, so 0.12. And then what we'll also do is add it to our original value. Another way to do that, to find our new balance, another way to do that is, in one step, is just to multiply by 1. So that counts for our original value, so 100 times 1 is adding our 100, our original value, and then plus the 0.12. So simplifying that is we'd be multiplying by 1.12 in order to add 12% interest. So we're going to take this 100 times 1.12, and that'll give us our next year's balance. So, oh, I know what that is, of course. Okay, so that's 112. And we're going to continue doing that each year in order to find out our new balance. Now, when you are multiplying repeatedly by the same value, what that means is that this has an exponential relationship. Exponential relationships, we can put them in an equation in this form. A stands for our starting value, and B stands for our growth rate, or constant multiplier, what we're multiplying by each time. So what we can do is we can write an equation y equals, our starting value was 100, our growth rate each time is 1.12, and then our x is going to stand for our number of years, and our y will stand for our balance. So we were asked, so this equation basically represents this situation, and we were asked to find our balance, so y, after 6.5 years. So our x is 6.5. So we'll say y equals 100 times 1.12 to the 6.5 power. And just to make this quick and easy, I'm going to put that into the calculator to the 6.5 power. And we end up getting y is equal to 208 and just rounding, it'd be 89. And since we're doing money, I rounded to the nearest cent. So what that means is after 6.5 years with earning 12% interest every year, she will end up with $208.89. A lot of financial questions are exponential, so they will follow this basic formula with for exponential relationships. So hopefully that helps.
All right, looks like that's about all the time we have for homework questions, so we're going to hop back over to Lily to get the answer to that trivia question from earlier.
Okay, so the trivia question again was, who said, "I love fool's experiments. I'm always making them"? And the answer to that is Charles Darwin.
Oh, Charles Darwin. Did we have a winner? We didn't have a winner, did
No,
we?
sadly not.
Guys, you got to call in. There are prizes for it. So make sure you call in. So we were also researching Charles Darwin because we love to learn.
Another interesting person.
Absolutely. He's one of my favorites. I really like his
Yeah,
theories,
mine too.
of course. Makes a lot of sense. So first off, who was Charles Darwin? What did he do?
Well, basically Charles Darwin, I mean, I guess he made up the theory of natural selection, I guess, in best summary. I don't want to say he thought of evolution or was the first person to think of evolution. He probably wasn't. But yeah, he did write about natural selection. Was the first person to come up with that theory, so, which I do like. My mom used to read me that as a kid. So, yeah, I'm really into Charles Darwin.
Yeah, Charles Darwin was basically the father of evolution. He was pretty much always a scientist, like through and through. He actually even composed a pro and con list on whether or not he should get married. So he had a whole list of like the pros and cons. So maybe not, I don't know, the most socially intelligent person, because I'm sure his future wife didn't really appreciate that. But he had a lot of things like in the married column, he could have children, constant companion, and better than a dog anyhow.
Sometimes.
I wonder which side of the list was longer, his cons or
Yeah.
his pros.
His cons were mostly related to him not being able to go and hang out with other people and talk about evolution, I think.
Oh.
A lot of it was related to freedom and having free time. So,
Well, he sounds like a very scientific person. You
Yeah.
know, not
always trying to
necessarily
make-
doing things with emotion being his basis of motivation. It's definitely scientific. He did, though, wait more than 20 years to publish his theory on evolution. So he did a lot of research before actually deciding to publish this. So he's a very well thought out man, for sure.
Pretty well respected, too. He actually was on the 10-pound note. I think that might be changing. But he was on there for quite a while.
Wonderful. Okay, so that's definitely an accomplishment to be put on some money, for sure. He also, this is kind of a random fact, but also interesting. He was born the same day as Abraham Lincoln, to the year, which is February 12th, 1809. But in very, very different settings. So Abraham Lincoln, you might know, was born in just a log cabin in Kentucky, and Darwin was actually born in Georgia on a big estate. So very, very different backgrounds from Abraham Lincoln, both maybe debatedly successful. I don't know where you'd say who's more successful, but both ended up very successful. However, February 12th is Darwin Day, so Darwin got to keep that day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
All right, so actually it's time to go. It's time for us to go. We ran out of time today. So thank you so much for all of your questions. Catch us tomorrow if we didn't get your question answered. We'll be back from 4:30 to 5:30 tomorrow live.
Yeah, thank you for calling. It's been great answering your questions.
Yep. And also trivia tomorrow. I expect to hear an answer from you guys. Want to give out prizes. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.